I have to ride in the dinghy? It's my yacht!
Just a sprinkle a day helps keep odor away.
Shower to shower body powder with baking soda to fight odor and absorbent cornstarch.
Have you had a sprinkle today?
The heat wave alert starts off with a look at one record high temperature yesterday. For July 16th, 94 ties it for Key West. Look at the temperatures, very hot, 98 in Dallas, 94 in Little Rock, Amarillo not too bad, 89, 104 in Phoenix, you can handle that, that's really not too bad for this time of the year, 81 in Atlanta, Georgia, 93 in New Orleans. Very hot today, especially right across this area. 100s are expected, even up over 110 here, but heat indices will be very high here because of high humidity levels, so we do have you in the danger category from South Dakota and Minnesota down to parts of Texas, and this heat will continue through tomorrow. Stay tuned.
Now, your local forecast. Dependable from the Weather Channel. This is the Weather Channel. Weather you can always turn to for accurate weather forecasts at your convenience 24 hours a day.
Waking Up Weather is sponsored by Mountain Grown Folgers Coffee. Folgers, the best part of waking up. Well, we have good news for you as you wake up on this Wednesday morning. We don't have any delays to put in your way out of Atlanta, Newark, O'Hare, Dallas, Denver, or LA. Satellite picture shows you explosive storms this morning over parts of the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. We've had winds clocked to 70 miles per hour with some of the storms that are just exploding in this area. Lighter rain showers with a broad area of low pressure in the southeast and more rain across the Pacific Northwest. It's been raining for about the past 24 hours or so in parts of western Washington, Oregon, and California. It does not show up very well on radar, but this certainly does. You have rain wrapping around that area of low pressure and strong storms firing up there in parts of Wisconsin and Michigan. This is the latest radar picture showing you very stormy weather in Wausau. We've had winds clocked over 50 miles per hour, and we do have reports of some wind damage in the city of Wausau. Storms are moving to the southeast at 35 miles per hour, so if you live just south of here, take cover because these storms mean business. They have a history of producing high winds. You know, in Pellston, when they moved through, or rather Alpena, in Pellston, when they moved through, we had winds clocked to 70 miles per hour. Now they're taking aim on Alpena. They also caused some wind damage across parts of the UP, so a rough start this morning in this region. We check into South Georgia, North Florida. It's raining now in Tallahassee. It's raining in Albany. Some heavy rain at Atlanta's Hartsfield Airport. Athens, light rain. It's raining in Anderson in South Carolina and also over in Greer, and it's all wrapping up and around to the northwest. One last quick regional radar stop showing you rain showers this morning around Vero Beach, and we have a few rain showers in Dade and Broward counties, but some of this is also ground clutter. So you know it certainly if you have some rain in your backyard this morning. It's pretty light, and it's moving off to the north at 15 miles per hour. We'll move to the north and show you the current scene in the northeast. Little fog developing in parts of West Virginia, but this is where all the action is. Some very stormy weather across parts of the UP and northern lower Michigan this morning. Aside from that, you're in the beautiful weather. It's kind of hot to start off your day, though, in Boston, 70 degrees. Get ready for a scorcher. 74 is the current temperature in New York City and 71 in D.C. Currently in Cincinnati, it's 68. Atlanta, Georgia, with light rain around the city, 71. Heavier rain at the airport, 74 in Jacksonville, and currently in New Orleans at 78. Little drizzle there in Panama City was 78 this morning. And you see that record high tide in Key West yesterday. Unsettled weather right across this region with a broad area of low pressure, but then we move back into Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas and find clear skies, and this is where you're going to have hot weather today. Heat indices well above 100. Rain showers in the southeast, it's been coming down. Apalachicola, you're at the top of our list with over 3.5 inches of rain. 1.5 inches in Beaufort, South Carolina, over 1 inch in Valparaiso, Florida. The strong storms that you just saw on radar are firing up right out ahead of this stationary boundary, and we do think you'll be under the gun for a good part of the day, so we'll be watching it closely for you. Minneapolis, look at that. It's very warm and tropical outside. 80 degrees right now, 69 in Chicago and 74 in Kansas City. Again, the stormy weather right here. How long will that continue? What about the warnings and watches? We'll keep you posted. Stick around. Today's forecast is next.
Your sense of smell is about 10,000 times more sensitive than your sense of taste. And no other coffee is more sensitive to that fact than Folgers. After all, Folgers is made with milk.
For anyone who ever travels on business, now there's AT+T teletravel service. A combination of calling features that gives you the power to turn virtually any phone into your office. It's easy. A toll-free number immediately connects you to AT+T. Then call across the country or across the world without hanging up between calls. Speed dial, set up a conference call, send or retrieve voice messages, and more at rates that could save you money. Call 1-800-544-2222, extension 61, to get AT+T teletravel service. All this for just a $10 annual fee. Then just pay for the features you use. And if you call by November 30th, you'll even get your $10 back. Call now and get the power to turn virtually any phone into your office.
If you're about to travel, watch the 5-Day Business Planner here on the Weather Channel at 20 minutes after every hour. You get a comprehensive national report that covers the forecast over the next 5 days. Watch the 5-Day Business Planner coming up soon on the Weather Channel. Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel. Next 5 days, watch the 5-Day Business Planner coming up soon on the Weather Channel. Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
Good Monday morning, 20 minutes after the hour. You're just in time for the 5-Day Business Planner. We'll help you plan your next 5 days if you have a business trip or if you have a pleasure trip. Here's the midday hour. Actually, we'll set the stage over the next 24 hours first, and then we'll give you the outlook for the next 5 days. This frontal boundary will move slowly through the nation's midsection. It doesn't have a whole lot of moisture to work with this morning, and certainly by later this afternoon, it should not gain any moisture. But tomorrow morning, as high pressure builds behind it, and we'll find the clockwise circulation around the high. That means upsloping conditions against the mountains with the easterly winds hitting up against the mountains. Then the air rising, and we'll find the rain and even some mountain snow. We've seen as much as 4 inches in western Montana near West Yellowstone Park. As much as 4 inches over the last 24 hours. That was above 8,000 feet or so. But we'll continue to watch this area for, again, the upslopping snow and rain showers throughout the area. The front will continue to slowly move east tomorrow afternoon into the central Great Lakes. High pressure will continue to control the weather pattern from the northeast all the way to the mid and lower Mississippi valleys. By that time, the area of low pressure will be well off the middle Atlantic coast. So we'll watch for improving conditions certainly by tomorrow morning over northern Georgia and most of the middle Atlantic. And there is light at the end of the tunnel after being socked in with the clouds and the rain and the drizzle this morning, with afternoon highs only in the 50s and 60s here. Cool and sunny over the northeast, partly cloudy and cool over the Pacific Northwest, but with plenty of sunshine here today. Afternoon highs well into the 70s and 80s. In time, though, we'll watch the cold air filtering east as we go through the middle and latter part of the week. Look at these 40s and 50s for the nation's midsection, and then moves into the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys by the end of the week, and then heads to the northeast Saturday. Trough of low pressure develops over the east. west. In response to the trough, though, we'll have the big ridge of high pressure out west, and that means temperatures will warm here. We'll find 80s over interior Montana and even the interior regions of Washington and Oregon. Here comes the front. Thursday in the nation's midsection, heads for the Ohio Valley Friday and the East Coast Saturday, but improving then.
Lots of wind and some rain in the mid-Atlantic region today. Stay tuned for the latest. We'll have the current weather across the country at 1/2 the hour.
Real adventure. The Discovery Channel. It's your world.
Rust. What it can do to the outside of your car, weak, neglected antifreeze can do to the inside. You need Prestone. No matter what happens to the outside, Prestone protects the inside. Prestone stops the rust that stops your car.
Purchase Prestone at this and other fine automotive and department stores.
Most families have 2 dishwashers. The heavy-duty model pre-washes everything, loads it in the other model, then tackles what didn't fit. But why? With the new Maytag Jet Clean dishwasher, you don't need to wash all your dishes before you wash your dishes. It has a 6-tier racking system that exposes everything to the cleaning power of 43 powerful jets, making your second dishwasher somewhat unnecessary.
You'll get used to it.
Maytag, the dependability people.
A look now at Florida, and the latest satellite picture shows fair skies for most of the state. We have that area of low pressure pushing off the middle Atlantic coast and trailing behind the cold front, so there's a chance for showers and maybe a few thunder showers across the extreme southern peninsula today. But other than that, we're talking about sunshine to partly cloudy conditions from Lake Okeechobee points north. We had some heavy rain over the weekend, so finally Florida is beginning to dry out. Water temperatures in the 80s across the south, about 79 degrees water temperature at Panama City, 82 at Clearwater, Miami's beach water temperature about 84 degrees. 89 degrees actually. Forecast high today in Miami, 91, 89 at West Palm Beach, 84 at Orlando. Panama City, 80 degrees today, we think. Jacksonville, 78 with moderate sunshine. Clearwater, about 84. Well, that's a look at Florida. Stay with us because not only will we check on the Gulf of Mexico, but we'll detail the Caribbean and the rest of the Atlantic to see what's brewing in the tropics. That comes your way right after this.
It's getting
what's going on right now. The New York City area, we have a broad westerly wind flow here. High pressure situated over eastern Tennessee. We have a frontal boundary south of this high pressure and a frontal boundary north of the high pressure. But the broad clockwise flow around it gives us that westerly wind flow over Ohio and Pennsylvania. And caught up in this westerly wind flow, we have some widespread rain showers. It's been a little concentrated here, heavier rain over central Ohio around Mansfield, extending over to the Pittsburgh area. So a little wet here this morning. And you can see a few showers. These are not touching the ground this morning, so a little false echo, if you will, over the New York City area. But as we go through the day today, we will continue to watch our westerly wind flow. We do think that these showers will begin to dissipate as our main focus will be the front that's north of the border now. As we go through the day, this area of low pressure and our frontal boundary will approach, and it may bring us some stronger storms later on in upstate New York, northern Vermont, and New Hampshire. But New York City, we think that you will remain in the clear for the most part. It won't be until tomorrow that this frontal boundary will really bring you some wet weather and the chance for scattered showers and storms. Again, high pressure situated right here, keeping things cool this morning. We've had a couple of record lows in western North Carolina and South Carolina with the clearing skies. But here is our next front, and an area of low pressure, the one that Cheryl was talking about, has developed already in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Now, showers and storms have been scattered from the Panhandle near Panama City and down here along the west coast, so you want to be careful this morning. The eastern Gulf of Mexico, it's a little treacherous for you. Certainly not the best of mornings for fishing in the eastern Gulf this morning, so just bear that in mind. Again, here's a look at those record lows. In Columbia, South Carolina, 59 degrees, Asheville, North Carolina with 52, and so we generally have 50s over the Carolinas.
Dear, I want to talk to you about our retirement.
Oh, I have so many plans.
We can't.
We can't what?
Retire. We can't retire. You might even think about taking a second job.
You're kidding.
Remember how we used to talk about putting some money aside?
Yes.
Well, we never did.
How did that happen?
Who knows? Listen, you like to get outside, don't you? Cut the grass. Lots of yards in this neighborhood. I see income potential here.
Don't let this happen to you. Plan with Alliance today. You, your financial advisor, and Alliance Capital, one of the largest investment managers in the world.
I want a nice home.
And a real quick little tidbit for you. Yesterday, in 1988, Mount Evans, Colorado, had 10 inches of rain, or 10 inches of snow, I should say. So to get snow in the Rockies this early is not unusual.
Well, the skiers are probably sharpening their edges and getting ready for the season.
That's right. And we start our skiers forecast here at the Weather Channel around November 1st.
That's right. But coming up next, we'll take you over to Europe and then the latest on the tropics.
Weather forecasts are important to you or someone you know, then you'll love the Weather Channel's new Weather Forecast phone calling card. It's like having your own personal weather forecast in 600 U.S. cities, plus 225 special worldwide forecasts anytime, 24 hours per day. You can call from any touch-tone phone, even in hotels and airports, anywhere in the U.S. And it's sponsored by AT+T, so you know it's great. If you order now for this special introductory offer, you will get 30 prepaid minutes on your weather calling card for only $19.95. That's an $8.55 savings, like getting 9 free minutes. After your first 30 minutes, it's only 95 cents per minute for additional weather forecast calls. It's a great gift for business travelers, photographers, engineers, truck drivers, vacationers, anyone who needs to get an accurate weather forecast quickly, anytime. Call 1-800-652-4500 now with your credit card ready to order your weather forecast calling card. That's 1-800-652-4500. Call now.
The forecast to begin your work week. But first, we shift topics for a special report. Now, tomorrow, June 1st, marks the official start of hurricane season. This year, the Weather Channel will have 2 experts to inform you of tropical developments. At the top of the hour, we'll be looking at the career of veteran hurricane specialist John Hope. Right now, meet Steve Lyons, our newest tropical weather expert.
Steve Lyons comes to the Weather Channel from the National Hurricane Center in Miami. He spent 4.5 years there as the manager of the Tropical Analysis and Forecast Branch. He focused on many aspects of tropical storms, from forecasting to preparedness. Steve appeared several times on camera answering reporters' questions about storms threatening the U.S. This was not Steve's first TV appearance. In 1986, he was an on-camera meteorologist at KTIE in Ventura County, California.
That was fun. I was a research scientist for the Navy at the time, so it was sort of a nighttime job. But I was sort of interested in seeing if somebody who really knew a lot about meteorology could make a difference even on TV, be able to educate people in 2 minutes or less. And it was very, very rewarding experience.
Steve's interest in meteorology goes back to his surfing days on the beaches of California and Hawaii. He received an athletic scholarship to the University of Hawaii, where he ran track. His event, the 800 meters. His studies paid off with a PhD in meteorology in 1981. Since then, his career has been diverse, from research scientist for the U.S. Navy to a similar position at the Geophysical Fluid Dynamics Lab at Princeton. He then joined the University of California at Los Angeles as a researcher. Steve went back to school to fulfill one of his dreams, teaching meteorology at the university level.
Education, I think, is one of my better traits, if you will. And in a classroom, you may have 40 students. If you have an introductory course, you may have 100 students. But here at the Weather Channel, you have a huge number of people that you can affect and educate. And if you do it effectively, you can really make a huge difference nationally.
Steve will be working alongside hurricane specialist John Hope. They have years of frontline tropical forecasting experience you'll see in our tropical updates on the Weather Channel.
And of course, John Hope will be joining us again this year, bringing his many years of experience to the Weather Channel. We'll have a full report on John Hope again at the top of the hour. Now, tomorrow night, you'll meet John Hope and Steve Lyons as they join us live right here on Weather Center beginning at 9 o'clock Eastern. They'll discuss the upcoming season and what impact El Nino might have. Tuesday night, we'll look back at some of the most devastating hurricanes on record. And on Wednesday, we'll be talking about preparation as you and your family get ready for the season. Thursday, John Hope and Steve Lyons are back to discuss hurricane forecasting. And finally, on Friday, we'll take you through the eye of a hurricane with the Hurricane Hunters. That's Hurricane Focus at 9 o'clock Eastern every evening this week. Now, here's Mike Seidel with your Monday forecast.
And Kim, a much better Monday than Sunday evening in the Northeast from Baltimore.
This program is sponsored by Home and Garden Showplace, making beautiful gardens come alive.
Can't get those disgusting stains out of your kitchen counter? Don't replace it, zap it! Is that tile hallway so dingy and dirty you're ready to rip it out? Don't replace it, zap it! Has your bathroom become so embarrassing you're ready for a remodel? Don't replace it, zap it! Presenting new and improved Zap, the professional strength restorer that's guaranteed to make porcelain, fiberglass, tile and grout, and real metals like brass, copper, and cast iron all look brand new again or your money back. Zap is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Parts of the South are getting some much-needed rain. The severe weather seems to be over in Tampa and Orlando. That's good, but heavy rain still covers a good part of Central Florida.
And it is raining on Disney World and on the beaches around Daytona. We'll tell you how long the rain will last in this edition of Weather Center.
Hello and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Vivian Brown.
And I'm Jeff Morrow. Thanks for joining us today. There is rain in the Northeast, too. It's moving in now. Vivian will have that story in a moment. But if you're headed to Florida for spring break, I'll get it out, you may be in for some rough weather. Let's go ahead and show you who has had the rain and who hasn't so far this spring. And again, we call it the haves and the have-nots. Check out into Texas, where the
to keep an eye on.
A third of the country hugging the coastline is where we'll find the heaviest rain. The snow mainly confined to the higher elevations out west, and that's where we'll find temperatures only in the 30s and 40s. We'll find 50s for much of the nation's midsection, the Central Plains. The farther south you go, of course, the warmer it gets, but that warm air is kind of fueling some of the thunderstorms over the sunshine state of Florida today.
And my apologies to the spring breakers in Florida. I'm just so far removed from that time in my life. I forgot that this is spring break time.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. Stay with us. We'll take you through the next several days to find out if we've got more wet weather for Florida.
Okay, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
To you, I'm Bob Stokes.
And I'm Christina Abernathy. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Weather. We have all the details of your back-to-work forecast coming up in just a few minutes. But first, let's talk about that severe weather. And we start out in Florida, which has certainly seen more than its share of storms and showers this holiday weekend. You're looking at video from Tampa earlier today as one of these storms moved through the area. Some of the storms were pretty severe yesterday, but today, state especially around Jacksonville and over towards Tallahassee and into Pensacola. Just scattered showers, scattered storms. Again, not dealing with quite an active scenario as you saw yesterday. What about the rest of the country? Well, we do certainly have some rough weather as we head to the west. Also still getting showers and storms again along the Gulf Coast. You've got a rather soggy night in store for you, especially south of this front where we've got the Gulf moisture coming on in. Our front not moving a great deal. It's more or less stationary, and anywhere from eastern Texas along the Gulf Coast, you're getting a bit of rain and a bit of storminess. And right here, we're getting plenty of storms. Some of these have the potential to be severe. We've got the moisture in place, we've got upper level energy, and unfortunately, we have the threat for severe weather, including damaging winds, large hail, and unfortunately, some of these severe storms could also produce tornadoes. A tornado watch box in effect for parts of Nebraska and Kansas on into eastern Colorado. A look at our radar shows what all the fuss is about, especially here through northeastern Colorado. Sedgwick County now under a tornado warning. Doppler radar has indicated a possible tornado here, so in Sedgwick County, take cover immediately. Certainly some rough weather going on in northeastern Colorado. That's not the only area where you could see rough weather, though. Anywhere throughout this region, severe storms are possible, as well as to the south and along the Gulf Coast. You could see some storms, perhaps not severe, but certainly strong. Let's take a look at what's going on in Texas, and we do have rain and storms between Waco and Austin, where you see the reds, the yellows. That gives you an idea of where some of the stronger storms are occurring, also just to the north of the Houston area. Then a rather widespread area of rain here through Louisiana and on into Mississippi, southern Alabama, around Montgomery and Dothan, then into southwestern Georgia, around Bainbridge, and even northward into central Georgia, getting some rain and storms as well. And our final stop shows us that we have a pretty sharp dividing line here where our front is. South of that front, that's where we're seeing the rain, and that's where we're seeing the storms, even into South Carolina. Bob?
Thanks a lot, Chris.
It's time now to take a look at our forecast for the week ahead. Of course, we're just winding down a holiday weekend. It's time to head back to work, and you want to know what the weather's going to be like. Well, let's take a look. Starting out with our jet stream, this gives us an indication of what we might expect. And one thing we notice as we head through the coming week is that the northern portion of the country is going to be pretty active. This jet stream pattern pretty active as we see a series of disturbances moving along this flow, and then as we head a little later on in the week, the flow just becoming more amplified so that we have a trough here and then a bit of a trough in the northeast, so maybe some cooler temperatures in these areas where we see the troughs cooler than everyone else, that's relatively speaking. High temperatures on Tuesday, but we see warmth across the southern U.S. Nothing unseasonal, though. We're not looking at very hot temperatures for this time of year. To the north, as a matter of fact, it's going to be for the Great Lakes region. You'll see that again on Wednesday in the northwest, a little on the cool side too, but we do see a bit of heat building here through the central U.S. Again, we saw that ridge in our jet stream flow there. That's going to mean the heat's on for the central states, but a little cooler in the northeast and the northwest. Again, we're going to see those disturbances moving along that flow here to the north so that the Great Lakes will have the chance for wet weather on Tuesday, into the northeast for Wednesday, although it looks like another round of showers here, maybe Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then along the east coast by Thursday, things finally winding down for Friday, except in the west. Well, stay tuned. Coming up next, stay with us.
Weather Scope.
Well, thunderstorms are still firing in the southern coastal states and the plains. Good evening to you this Sunday evening. I'm Bob Stokes.
And I'm Christina Abernathy. Thanks for joining us. We'll have all the details of your back-to-work forecast coming up in just a few minutes. But first, let's talk about that severe weather. And we start out in Florida. Pictures from earlier, it's the northern part of Florida, around Tallahassee and around Pensacola, where we're seeing most of the wet weather at this point, maybe around Jacksonville, getting some wet weather too. What about the rest of the country? Well, it's not only Florida that's getting the rain, also along the Gulf Coast states here and back into Texas, where you've had some rough weather in the eastern portion and central portion of Texas. Also some big-time storms here. We've got plenty of moisture flowing in. We've got upper-level energy, and the storms have been firing here in Colorado and now moving into Nebraska and Kansas as well. As a matter of fact, we have a in effect. Some of the things you want to be on the lookout for in this part of the country: of course, the strong damaging winds, the potential that some of these storms could produce large hail, heavy amounts of rain, as some of these storms will have the potential to produce some rather substantial amounts of rain, and also some of these storms could produce tornadoes. This is in effect until 9 o'clock local time. A look at the radar shows what all the fuss is about. We do have some storms here in the northeastern part of the state, northeastern Colorado. It looks like this cell right here making its way into extreme northwestern Kansas and maybe clipping Nebraska here as well. And also in southeastern Colorado, you're getting some rain and storms too. So the chance for storminess here as well as to the north into Montana, where you've had some big-time storms as well. And then along the Gulf Coast and back into Texas, strong to severe storms a possibility. A look at those storms in Texas between Waco and Austin. You've certainly had some rough weather here as well as to the northeast of Houston. Look at our forecast for the week ahead, and of course we're just winding down from a holiday weekend and it's time to go back to work, and you want to know what the weather has in store. Well, let's take a look, starting out with our jet stream. And what we're going to see as we head through the week is that the jet stream here, the storm track, is going to be fairly active, and we're also going to notice that our flow just becomes more amplified as we head later on into the week, with a trough in the northwest, a trough in the northeast, but a ridge here over the central states, and that's going to mean some heat here while it'll be a little cooler in the northeast and the northwest. Let's take a look at the details. And here we go into Tuesday. Relatively speaking, cooler in the northwest and in the northeast, and fairly warm to the south. Nothing unusual for this time of year. We would expect this type of 90 to 100 to 110 degree heat, especially into the southwest. What we're also going to see, though, again, is that heat building here through the central states as the ridge builds. We'll see the 90s well into the Dakotas, while the northeast, again in the northwest, some folks only getting highs here in the 60s. So look out for that. A little bit of cool air in your forecast. As far as precipitation, a couple of areas we're watching here on Tuesday for showers, maybe some thunderstorms. Some of that pushing eastward into the northeastern U.S. for Wednesday and along the East Coast for Thursday. So anywhere from Miami to Atlanta to Boston, you could have scattered showers and thunderstorms by Thursday. On into Friday we go, where again it's the southeast and the northeast where you could have some wet weather, isolated storms, not out of the question, the Four Corners region. Your complete 5-day forecast next.
Thanks for tuning into the Weather Channel. I'm Jeff Morrow, and hey, this time of the year, you think about
phones for the holidays from Radio Shack. Buy one, get one free.
Really?
So I got one for my mom.
And who are you giving the other one to?
Actually, I got a lot of cool gifts there.
Right. So who are you giving the other one to?
You know me, Howie, always willing to give.
I know. Who you giving this to?
Oh, did I get 2 phones? Happy holidays.
Give the gift of staying in touch. Buy one phone with Verizon Wireless Service and get the second phone free. Radio Shack, around the corner and around the clock.
To this edition of Weather Center, sponsored by Maglite, I'm Lisa Moser.
And I'm Dave Schwartz. Now, brutally cold air, the likes of which we haven't seen in years, is poised to invade the western and central U.S. this weekend. But first, some light snow is still lingering in the northeast. Was it a good day to have lunch outdoors in Boston? No way. Go on, buddy, get a bite to eat in a nice warm restaurant. It snowed most of the day here in Boston, but it hasn't added up to all that much. Temperatures were downright frosty, near 20 all day today. It still is cold outside, so what little snow did fall, well, it's kind of hanging around. A powdery snow, the likes of which you'll see up at the Colorado Rockies. Very light powdery snow that you can just sweep off the sidewalk. 20 degrees right now in Boston, 14 in Worcester. The snow began, during rush hour, between, say, 6:30 and 7 across the metropolitan area. Now it is finally tapering off, but it's just been light. Half an inch max. That's just about it. But south and west of Boston, there have been reports of 1, 2, 3 inches of snow. Hartford, one of those places. Providence, gotten about 1.5 inches or so. And then back into the Catskills and Poconos. So if you're planning on doing a little skiing up there, there's some fresh new powder for you. And there'll probably be a few more snowflakes flying up here in the mountains tomorrow. Cold high pressure. Do you know that the coldest temperature in the whole country, Alaska included, was right here in New York State? Saranac Lake, New York, 22 below. And in nearby Messina, New York, 17 below, set an all-time record. It is cold, cold, cold. You see a west to east flow across these parts this time of year, and you don't expect much in the way of snowfall. But we've had a little here. We're 20 now in Boston. We've had a little here in Michigan. Grand Rapids with light snow all day. Detroit with a few snow flurries. And there are a few flurries here just to the south of Green Bay. This cold front that's attached to low pressure moving across the Pennsylvania and New York border has ushered in some colder air. Winds are flowing in northwest, not all that strong, but just enough to let us know that we can't hold on to mild weather very long this time of year. It was 21 degrees warmer yesterday in Kansas City than it is right now, and 11 degrees warmer in Chicago. We were 30 yesterday, now we're 19 degrees. We've had a day here in Chicago just like we had in Boston today. Now, in Chicago, it's going to warm up. Why? Because a cold front will be heading toward us. Winds will be coming out of the south, and temperatures will warm into the mid-30s. Wow! But then we take the plunge back. Same story tomorrow in Minneapolis. Your high was 12 today. You're 10 right now with a wind chill of 3 below. Tomorrow it warms up. Sunday it gets cold and snowy. South of the front, temperatures on the mild side today. For now, here's Lisa with that story.
So very true. The frontal boundary will continue to drop southward. Now, there's not a lot of moisture working with this front, but we are going to see some rain thanks to this low pressure area. It's kind of weak, but it will become more of a weather maker as we go through the day tomorrow for the southeast. In the meantime, the high pressure has brought clearer skies even at this hour across much of the southeast. You can see mostly clear across South Carolina, Tennessee, much of the northern part of Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi also experiencing mostly clear skies. Earlier today that did translate into mostly sunny skies, but kind of dark out there, and we are going to lose a lot of this heat, but the cloud cover is going to blanket quite a few areas. We've got some light rain associated with some of that cloud cover with that low pressure area just to our south around Tallahassee. We've had cloudy skies today and a few sprinkles occasionally. Also looking at a flow across the Florida Keys that has kept a few sprinkles in our day here. Now we are looking for more of the cloud cover to produce a more widespread encompassing of the southeast tomorrow. So that means that we will see that low-angle sun blocked, and the temperatures are likely not to be quite as warm, and also the frontal boundary will be pushing through a number of areas, and this too will mean some cooler weather. But right now, enjoy a mild evening. It's only 57 degrees in Columbia. That's not bad. 52 in Birmingham. We had a high today in Atlanta of 64. The current temperature down to 56 degrees. That's a big improvement from yesterday's, this morning's low temperature of 35. Tonight we'll get down to about 40. We'll say a 6 a.m. temperature in Atlanta of 42. Noonday, mostly cloudy, chance of some rain, 46 degrees, and in the afternoon we're looking for the temperatures to slowly, gradually dip that back down to that 40-degree mark again. But in the meantime, enjoy a very nice evening. The wind has been a little breezy. We've been looking at the winds mainly out of the west at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Today in Atlanta we did hit a gust around 18 miles per hour, but that doesn't really affect the 50-degree weather. The wind chill is really not a concern at this time. Taking a look at what we are comparing today's weather with, the temperatures overall about 5 to 10 degrees warmer today than what they were yesterday. That's going to be changing as we go through the weekend, though. Much like the west, we've got some colder air in the forecast. Dave?
Well, Lisa, lots of folks this time of year want to know whether this weekend is going to be snowy. Skiers love it. Northern Canada is going to break free and head southward. It's 9 right now in Calgary, Alberta. That kind of cold air will move into Boise. We'll move into Seattle. We'll move into Phoenix. We'll also move out here into the plains. What do we end up with? Well, not a quiet weather pattern as we have now, but by late in the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, look at that. From snow in Portland, Sunday night, to rain in San Francisco, a blizzard in the high country and western plains, and some light frozen precipitation up toward Green Bay, Des Moines, Milwaukee, and Flint, Michigan. How about them apples? Lisa?
Let's talk about cold, Dave. taking a look at the animation here, I want to point out that right now all that cold air, the really cold Arctic air, is locked up towards the Canadian area. That's going to be changing though, especially as we go through the weekend, but not just limited to the weekend. We will see this colder air thanks to a troughing in our long wave pattern. That's the jet stream that's going to drag a lot of this colder air not only southward but also towards the east. And we are looking at moisture that's already in place across the plains and the northern Rockies. Of course, cold air can't hold very much moisture, so all of this will be turning to snow. It's also going to be pretty windy, and that means not only will snow be falling, it will be drifting around, blowing, and we've got some problems. It's not going to be a very good forecast for travel, to say the least. But taking a look at tomorrow morning, now that frontal boundary I showed you pushing southward does link up with our low. That means Tallahassee all the way up towards Charlotte, North Carolina, we do have a chance of seeing rain for sure. The cloud cover will be in place. Now, we have high pressure in control across the northeast. It's going to be a very chilly morning. Temperatures again teens below zero, and it will be a slow warm-up in the afternoon when the temperatures are expected to get into the 20s and 30s across much of the northeast. Now, here comes the colder air. We've got a little bit of a low pressure area associated with this first little nudge of the cold air. This is an Alberta clipper, and it moves fairly quickly, and we are talking about conditions rapidly changing over the next 24 hours for much of Montana. We are not limited to this cold air just for the weekend. I do want to stress that. We are talking about a cold trend that will extend into our extended forecast, and for more details on that, Dave Swartz does take a look at the next 7 days coming up on the weekly planner. These are the morning low temperatures, lots of zeros. That means the temperatures will be near, slightly above, or slightly below that 0-degree mark across much of the upper Midwest. Now notice the Tennessee Valley area a little cooler here overnight tonight. That's because of that frontal boundary that's trying to nudge a little further towards the south. Looking region by region now, let's take a look out towards the Great Lakes here. You know, in the southeast we do have a chance of that rain, but it's the snow that has been on and off through much of the day, even though it's mostly just been some flurries. That's going to be tapering off. We do have a more westerly wind, especially across Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, so that's pretty much a done deal. But the next blast of snow, this will be system snow coming our way, and it's not going to be very pleasant. Snow drifts will slow us down, if not the cold weather.
There's some rough weather out there that could slow you down, too. We'll get all the details next on Travel Walk.
Watch out! Oh, no! How many times has this happened to you? Now you'd have to spend $100 or more on costly lens replacement or live with the scratches, right? Not anymore. Introducing Scratch Be Gone, the professional optician secret that repairs and restores scratched lenses to like new condition. Watch as this lens is scratched with sandpaper. The secret's in the revolutionary carbon polymer formula.
Scratch Be Gone is a special formula of superfine crystalline materials that bonds with the surface of the lens, killing scratches and restoring it to like new. Before and after. We scratch these sunglasses with a key. Before and after. You might expect to pay
Some of our friends in the Great Lakes area are also getting in on the action. Portions of Michigan still seeing lake effect snow tonight, but the snow flurries aren't slowing down the flurry of shoppers.
Here's a sneak peek at your Saturday forecast. Snow flurries will fly in the upper Midwest, but for those of you in the Pacific Northwest, we'll see a mix of winter weather, precipitation, and lots of sunshine on tap for the Northeast, but it will remain cold. Hello and welcome to Weather Center, sponsored by Lexus. I'm Lisa Moser.
And I'm Dave Schwartz. A severe Arctic outbreak will usher in brutally cold weather this weekend. But first, let's head to the Northeast. It's been a snowy and cold Friday for many of you. These pictures are from Ramsey, New Jersey, where the snowfall caused more than one fender bender. Tomorrow calls for partly cloudy skies, temperatures on the cold side, highs only in the mid-30s. And quite often we'll report about fender benders or traffic problems that have to do with weather. Well, they're not caused by weather. They're usually caused by people not driving appropriately.
At least, but a much milder day tomorrow in the southeast than yesterday.
I hate to see that red on the map. That means ice on the roadway.
Yeah, that's magenta, I think, Dave.
Magenta. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll be back.
To watch for light snow. What should you be expecting for this weekend?
Stay tuned for the Weather Center with the absolute latest with the forecast.
And good afternoon and welcome to Weather Center, sponsored by Celebrex. I'm Jennifer Lopez.
And I'm Paul Emick. Thanks for joining us. A fairly sizable area of low pressure that has tracked its way through the Northeast. Still keeping a few flurries around. Let's take a look at exactly where those happen to be at the present time. Wintry is still in the northeast, but it's not as active as some storms we've seen in the past, so this will not be a huge wintry weather maker. We'll take a look at a relatively quiet day coast to coast, but a little change afoot, including in the west. We've got a few sprinkles here and there. Focus first of all on the snowfall. Well, the snow continues to come down here, a little area of low pressure. Often we look kind of on the north and western side of an area of low pressure. That's where you see some of the cold air kind of wrapped in. Kind of the case here. We're kicking some extra snowfall around a little longer, but for the most part, this system is pretty rapid about one thing, and that's in its pace to exit on toward the east. Let's look at the snow now. This particular image shows a little light snow. You see the white flakes there into around Rochester and on toward Buffalo. But around New York City, we're not dealing with as much of it, although we've been seeing some light flurries still around Islip and at times around LaGuardia. But most of that, again, continues to push on to the east. Hartford, now looking for the snowfall now around Providence. Yeah, we've got quite a bit around Falmouth on toward Boston and around Worcester, too. And Norwood, expect some more snowfall around Boston here quite a bit longer. That snow continues just until our system does exit, so we'll kind of see it move on later. Of course, just due to geography. Basically, New York City, we've seen ours pass, and Boston will see the same thing happen. Upstate New York, around the Capital District, some snow toward Albany, a bit south of Syracuse, and right now Myra, New York, we've seen it off and on toward Rochester, and again, some snows now toward Buffalo. Also, a few flakes of flying in the northwestern part of Pennsylvania, on in toward Cleveland. Light snows now, especially to the east of us, including around Youngstown. Let's take a look at one place, though, where we have been dealing with a little bit of snow, and might see some just a little bit longer. That's around Providence, Rhode Island. Our snow was a little heavier a bit earlier, because this image from quite some time ago. Visibility about 3/4 of a mile at times, and not looking for much in the way of warmth for our day either, or much in the way of additional snow into Providence. Might see maybe another inch in some spots, mostly east of Providence, even toward the Cape and Nantucket, some accumulating snow, and a little bit into New York. Not a lot, but a little. Temperatures now quite cool to Boston, 19. Compare and contrast, a little warmer there, 30 toward New York City, 30 to Cleveland, and a little wind chill, too, along with that system. Does bring our wind chills down to some single digits, or right at the 0 mark there toward Buffalo, but it feels like 9 around Cleveland, around 10 around Boston. Into the evening, the system continues to push away, just a few lingering snowflakes, mostly in some of the lake effect snow areas tonight. A little quieter, a little clearer, a little cooler start to our Saturday as well. That's the Northeast. Let's look at the Midwest. Here's Jennifer.
And it is a cold afternoon across the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest. Some of you are precipitation free, especially here in Chicago. Commuters saw hazy conditions earlier today. That has cleared now, and now you're dealing with partly cloudy skies. Snow is not in your forecast this evening, but you already have about 2 inches of snow on the ground within the city limits. But temperatures are cold across Chicago. Currently, you're in the 20s with a frontal system now to the east and to the south of you. That front has brought some very cold air with an area of high pressure just over North Dakota. This high is going to be staying in place across the upper Midwest and in the lower Midwest for the weekend. Now, temperatures have been cooled down, several degrees cooler in through Des Moines as well as into Sioux Falls from where you were yesterday. The current reading, some areas only in the single digits, such as International Falls with 3 right now. Minneapolis, you're at 11, in Chicago, 21 degrees. We are dealing with a little bit of snow around, sticking into the upper peninsula of Michigan, also into the lower half of Michigan as we look in a little bit closer. And just to the east of Marquette, we're noticing in through this area, we could see maybe up to 10 inches of snow since Thursday. So you're still getting more snow coming in just to the east of Marquette. And we're also noticing the snow coming across Traverse City and in through lower Michigan. This is very light amounts of snow coming just to the west of Detroit and through Lansing as well as into Kalamazoo. Should not cause too much headache. We're only anticipating 1 to 3 inches of additional snow, but certainly try to get some extra time in before you head outdoors and you're driving this evening. We're also noticing across the northern North Dakota area for a little bit of snow to come through. That will be coming into the area later on this evening. Elsewhere across the Midwest, high pressure bringing most of the area dry conditions with the exception of the Great Lakes and throughout Michigan. Still, flurries are going to be possible. That is the situation in the Midwest. How about other parts of the country? Paul?
Focusing our attention toward the southern U.S., guess what? Pretty quiet day, a little high pressure in charge, a little stability. Makes for a good situation. Let's take a look at the southern U.S. in comparison to the activity for us in the Northeast. Things are fairly quiet on many areas, including the west, which we'll look at with Jennifer in just a moment. There's a front approaching, not really able to gather much attention yet, not really able to gather much moisture.
So sticking around Seattle and a little bit farther in through western portions or farther south into western Oregon. Also into the southwest, an area of low pressure is moving through, and as we look in a little bit closer into this area, we notice some scattered showers. Very light amounts of rain can be expected in through central California and also into southern Nevada, over into portions of southern Utah. But we look to the south of California, we notice some cloudy conditions, and as we look farther out into the Pacific Ocean, we notice those clouds stretch even out a little bit further. So we're going to be seeing cloudy skies coming into Southern California as we go into the weekend. We're also noticing cloudy conditions persisting across the intermountain areas of the west, and that has kept the temperatures down. With not much sunshine around, Lander, you're at 30 degrees at this hour, 35 in Rapid City, and 36 this afternoon in through Denver. As we look at the forecast, it looks like this area of low pressure will kind of move into the southwest, bring some scattered showers into Arizona, maybe even into New Mexico, Albuquerque. You could be seeing just a few scattered showers as we go into the evening hours. Watch out for a little bit of light rain, as Paul mentioned, along the Gulf of Mexico, along the coast that is. Meanwhile, across the Great Lakes, a few flurries, but all in all, not too bad for a Friday night. It will be certainly cold across the northern half of the country. And as we look on Saturday morning, we'll start to see that cold air start to nudge down with a frontal system moving southward across the northern plains. We could be seeing some snow with winds coming in from the east to the northeast around the area of high pressure. Still up in Canada, it could help to create a little bit of snow flurries in and across the Dakotas as well as into Montana. Now that'll be for tomorrow, but for today, looking very nice across most of the country. However, when you step outside, oh, things are going to be very cold for this evening, dropping into only the single digits into the upper Midwest. And for tomorrow, not warming up too much. Teens across northern Minnesota.
Sounds cold, but what kind of temperature trends will affect us the next few days? We'll answer that coming up.
That's right.
You will too.
And your weekly planner, we certainly will. Stay with us.
This program was sponsored by Celebrex. Talk to your doctor about Celebrex.
Well, the weekend is here, and let's find out what is in store for Saturday, Sunday. And it looks like we're going to be having some very cold air in place for the western half of the country. We'll start you off by looking at the jet stream, and notice across the northern half of the country, this is where we find the jet pulling down some very cold air. And in fact, as we go into Saturday as well as into Sunday, the jet's pretty much going to be staying in the same location. And then a bit of a trough is going to be dropping into the southwest, or at least covering the west for your Sunday, and this is going to help to produce some snow, maybe some heavy snow, maybe even blowing snow across the high plains as we go into the middle of next, or the beginning of next week. And the trough is going to be slowly moving to the east. Notice it doesn't pretty much race to the east. It's because we have an area of high pressure that's going to be across the east coast, and it's going to really help to block this system from moving too fast across the east. So let's talk about what's going to be in store for your Saturday. And notice the snow covers a big chunk of the northern half of the country and also into the Idaho area, Washington, Oregon, the Pacific Northwest. Snow is going to be in the forecast. Right along the coast, expect some rain. Here in the southeast, we're expecting some morning showers with a little disturbance moving through the middle of the atmosphere. This is going to help kick off a few scattered showers for Oklahoma City. And then we have an area of low pressure at the surface across the Gulf of Mexico, and that is going to help trigger off some scattered showers into the south. Notice across Kentucky, even into North Carolina, the orange represents a mixed type of winter weather. That's because we have an area of high pressure again across the northeast and on the east coast, and that's going to help cool down the Carolinas as well as the Kentucky area, and that will help to produce some of that wintry mess. But on Sunday, we'll see some scattered showers as well as maybe even some mix again for North Carolina as well as into Virginia. But then our storm system in the west really starts to take shape. We'll have blizzard conditions possible, as well as blowing snow around, and also the possibility of some snow on the other side of the mountains, the western side, in through Seattle and even into Portland. Now for Monday, this system will be dropping into the central portion of the country. Across Oklahoma, a mess of a situation. Freezing rain possible, also changing over to snow in and across Oklahoma, so we will have to watch out for that. And then the system is going to be moving to the east, but slowly again. That's because we have our area of high pressure helping to kind of block that system from moving far to the east coast. But for your Wednesday, next Wednesday, we'll deal with some scattered showers out ahead of the system. Up around the area of low pressure, we'll deal with some snow coming off the Great Lakes. And also we could see some freezing rain with a little bit of snow mixing in across Texas and also into Arkansas. And we'll also have another area of low pressure digging into the Four Corners area and producing some snow. And then things will quiet down somewhat for next Thursday as we head to the end of next week. Now let's look at the temperatures. Starting off with tomorrow afternoon highs. This is where that cold Arctic air starts to push down, crosses into the United States for Sunday, and temperatures will only be in the single digits for the end of the weekend. A little bit on the warmer, milder side across the southeast with 50s and 60s in store, and then we will see with our trough across the western half of the country and in through the central portion of the country, some very cold air in place. But then on the other side of that trough, along the east coast and into the south, we'll see temperatures into the 60s, 70s, and even a few 80s across South Texas as well as South Florida. Now for Tuesday, that cold air starts to nudge a little bit farther to the east and knocks down some of these very comfortable temperatures. And then we look at Wednesday's highs, and we do see that cold air invading most of the northeast and nudging into portions of the deep south. Now let's look at tomorrow morning lows. Overnight lows for tonight will be very cold into the single digits, and then we see some very Arctic air coming in place across the north.
Superior Bank introduces
Let's focus our attention to the Midwest now with Jennifer.
And in the Midwest today, we're finding a pretty nice day as far as no snow flurries or not much snow across the Midwest. We still have a few flakes coming across Minnesota and also here into lower and as well as into the UP of Michigan. But temperatures have been cooling off. We have an area of high pressure coming down, and it's bringing some very cold air. And once again, you are 24 degrees cooler in Des Moines and also 25 in Lincoln than where you were yesterday, with temperatures at this hour into the 20s and 30s for these areas. 12 right now in Minneapolis, 18 for you in Green Bay, and 29 in through Detroit. Again, across the Great Lakes, especially throughout the state of Michigan, we have been noticing snow coming through. And in through the upper peninsula of Michigan, it's mainly been just to the east of Marquette, and this little band is pushing farther to the east, so we're likely to see maybe another 1 to 3 inches in and across this area as we go into the afternoon and into the evening hours. Across lower Michigan, we're also getting some snow around Grand Rapids as well as into Lansing. A few snow flurries coming through, and also into northern suburbs of Detroit and through Flint, we're noticing the snow. And it has been snowing all day long, or at least for the past several days, in and across the Detroit area. Here, the snow is helping put you in the holiday spirit in suburban Detroit. Birmingham is a flurry of activity despite the snow flurries that have been hanging around. Temperatures are so cold, blustery. Only an inching up into the mid-20s for the afternoon. Again, we're likely to see maybe 1 to 3 inches of additional new snow coming through portions of Michigan, and also more snow coming across northern portions of North Dakota as we go in through the evening hours. Elsewhere across the Midwest, it will be a cold night, but it looks like most of the Midwest will be dry for this evening. Let's find out how other parts of the country are doing now with Paul.
Well, the western U.S., we're comparatively quiet. I mean, all the actions in the Midwest and Northeast, really a very quiet day, and it's built to stay that way throughout the weekend on the Weather Channel. That's the story of the western U.S. Let's look elsewhere, namely across the South. Here's Jennifer.
And in the South today, we're finding another beautiful day, although a cold front is inching its way into the South, bringing with it some very cold air, and it is knocking the temperatures down in and across Oklahoma City, 6 degrees cooler than where you were yesterday. Meanwhile, on the other side of that front, we're warming up, about 10 degrees warmer in Atlanta as well as into Birmingham this afternoon, with temperatures in the low 60s. First time we've seen 60s in quite a while across the Carolinas. And throughout Florida, we're noticing temperatures well into the 70s, even close to 80 degrees around Orlando. Now let's find out where all the moisture is in the south. We find not much moisture. This is the dew points. They register the moisture, and we're finding very dry conditions across most of the south, with the exception of Florida. Dew points have creeped into the 50s as well as into the 60s, and we have been noticing a few clouds here and some scattered showers. Meanwhile, an area of low pressure spinning across the central Gulf of Mexico, and that is helping to create some clouds across lower Alabama as well as into the panhandle of Florida, and we may see some isolated showers develop throughout this area as we go into the night. Meanwhile, across South Florida, a few isolated showers just offshore of Biscayne Bay and also into Key Largo, rather just off the shore into the Florida Straits. And around Naples, I think the radar is kind of showing up some messy returns here. Not too many stations are reporting some rain across Naples into Bonita Beach as well as into Fort Myers. So that is the situation into the south. Now let's get a look at your forecast with Paul.
Here, put it all in perspective as we put it all in motion. We'll see a few sprinkles approaching the northwest while a few snowflakes leave the northeastern coast. One system out, another.
Not much at all. Well, let's find out if the cold stuff is going to stick around for the weekend and for next week.
Yeah, a week's worth of weather next in the Weekly Planner. Please stay tuned.
This program was sponsored by Red Lobster. You love seafood. We love
details on that stormy weekend forecast in just a few minutes. But first, we're off to the northeast and having lunch.
Thanks, Carl. There are a couple of areas here in the south that are of interest. We still have a revolving or a rotating area of low pressure out here in the Gulf of Mexico, mainly just a cloud producer, but we are seeing some of the moisture content increasing here near the Gulf Coast and even some points on northward around Montgomery, Alabama. We've had just a few light rain showers. Also, a steady stream of moisture continues to work its way just to the south of the Florida Peninsula. Again, some clouds for you around Miami and Fort Lauderdale, down into the extreme southwestern part of the state, and the Keys have seen a few scattered showers as well. But for the most part, it's just a glancing blow, and most of the southeast is looking at some very, very comfortable weather at this time. As a matter of fact, your temperature is even a few degrees warmer than where you stood this time yesterday. Well, you're looking at dew points, and again, you can see how the moisture is a bit on the increase compared to where we were yesterday. So we'll continue that southwesterly flow here, and a few showers may impact your weather. Extreme southern Florida, not even all of this is reaching the ground. That appears to be ground clutter near Fort Myers. We get into southwestern parts of the state, and there may be some light drizzle or a few spotty showers, but it's really around the Florida Straits where we'll be seeing the bulk of the precipitation, and really just a chance for some rain in and around Miami this evening. So most of you will squeak by unscathed. Further north, just a few light showers up around Montgomery. Some of this working its way northward, probably dissipating as it runs into some drier air. But the general trend is going to be to see those clouds moving from south to north, and we're going to find increasing clouds even into Atlanta, and that in turn could mean some rain for you as we take you on into your Saturday. So do be prepared for that. In the meantime, a check on temperatures, and well, not a bad looking day temperature-wise. Again, a few degrees warmer than where you stood this time yesterday. You made it to 58 so far in Dallas, 67, not bad around Houston, 62 around Birmingham, lots of 70s down in through the Sunshine State, and 62 in Atlanta. By some regards, still kind of a cool day. We certainly started out that way in Atlanta. It felt like the deep freeze, but again, temperatures today making it into the 60s. So that was a real treat. Hope you got a chance to enjoy it. Because as we mentioned, the clouds will be rolling on in, and temperatures not even close to this rating as we head into tomorrow. We think we'll start to see an easterly flow, meaning a wedge sort of situation, and much cooler air will result from that. That's a look at what's going on across the southeast. Let's go out west now with Carl.
And we are still seeing some fog and low clouds around Seattle and Portland. That has been the case for the last couple of days. Also a little bit of rain with a little in Seattle. 62 now in Vegas, 62 in LA, and 72 in Phoenix. And with more on that very cold air that's on the way, here's Sharon.
Okay, let's talk about that very cold air. Some of the most cold air that we've seen really in a couple of years for you across the northern tier. We have to head all the way up into Canada to find out why this area is going to be so cold that will encompass northern sections of the lower 48. First of all, remember, our days are getting short, nighttime getting longer now, so a lot of radiational cooling, and the snowpack already in place. And what we're going to see are these areas of high pressure that are currently over western Canada
sinking southward. So these highs are harboring that very cold air, and then they bring a lot of that cold air down across the northern Rockies, northern Plain states, even into the upper Midwest. And if you think you're going to escape it even here in the Pacific Northwest, think again. Some of that will be affecting you later in the weekend as well. So as we see pieces of those areas of high pressure harboring that bitter cold air continue to move on southward, the end result will mean some very, very cold temperatures. In fact, we think it's going to be the coldest air since the winter of 1998-1999. Remember that? Very, very cold readings and some snow likely to fall associated with those extremely cold temperatures. So keep that in mind across this region. I want to show you some of those actual readings right now as we venture all the way up into Canada. Let's do that. And you'll see some of these current readings at 33 below, 18 below. We have to go pretty far to the north to find some of this cold air. But again, these areas here where that area of high pressure is located, and that's what's going to be sinking southward and drawing that cold air on in with it. So a very, very cold forecast for many of you. Let's get into forecast mode, show you what it looks like for Friday early evening. Here's an area of low pressure, and then you can see the high all the way up at the top of your screen. That's the one harboring that very bitter cold air. The low will dive on southward, and we'll find some snow associated with that. Notice too the pressure gradient between the high still up in Canada and our area of low pressure near the northwest. Very strong winds screaming in out of the northeast, so it's going to be a very brutal day heading into the northern Rockies, parts of Montana for Saturday. High pressure dominating the northeast and portions of the Great Lakes. Still seeing a little lake effect snow shower activity. May see an area of low pressure developing near the Gulf Coast, and that could produce a little bit of shower activity. And again, don't forget with that, the flow ahead of that bringing in some moisture, colder, high pressure kind of wedging on in from the east, and the end result, a wedge situation, meaning overrunning precipitation and some chilly air across the southeast. So kind of a blustery forecast for you. Let's look at your precipitation for the overnight, and we'll take you into your lows and highs here. Again, pinpointing that cold air right up near the Canadian border for Saturday, but really making some progress southward come Sunday into Monday.
That's right. We've got a wild week ahead, and you're going to want to find out what's coming up.
That's right. We've got the very latest next.
Dining al fresco in Boston today? I don't think so. Temperatures are frosty in Boston this Friday, and some light snow is still falling.
And if you want warmer weather, and who doesn't, well, you'll have to head south, my friend. That's where the sunshine, blue skies, and mild temperatures are for now. Hello and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Lisa Moser.
And I'm Dave Schwartz. Brutally cold air, the likes of which we haven't seen in years, is poised to invade the western and central U.S. this weekend. But first, some light snow is still lingering in the northeast. Was it a good day to have lunch outdoors in Boston? No way. Go on, buddy, get a bite to eat in a nice warm restaurant. It snowed most of the day. Hasn't added up to all that much. And temperatures near 20. Currently, we find snow. Fortunately, it hasn't been that.
And in the afternoon, the really warm spot will be Florida, around the Miami area. And the others are looking a little below normal for this time of the year, the further north you go.
Well, let's move the Weather Channel to Miami. Nice and warm.
We will be back. Your local forecast is coming up, and the extended forecast, too.
On the fire.
Thunderstorms, no big problem across the country. Neither is wind, but it will be, both of them will be, by the end of the weekend, and especially Monday here in the middle of the country. I'm Dave Schwartz with Travel-Wise. There is some snow flying tonight, lower Michigan, all the way into southern New England. Not much more is left, maybe another inch or two in localized spots here west of Interstate 75, and in Connecticut and Rhode Island, where we've already had several inches of snowfall this afternoon, so be very careful out there on the roadway tonight. Meanwhile, here in the southwest, reports of some icy conditions over the Dallas Divide in southern Colorado, and some freezing rain or sprinkles moving out into the Red River Valley and western Oklahoma tonight. Be careful there. Then, as an Arctic boundary presses southward out of Canada, the snow and the freezing rain. That's the big story for the weekend, is what is yet to happen in the plains and the west. Fog, a few spots. That'll thicken up later tonight. We'll update that map for you. I want to let you know about that. If you're traveling overseas, we've got the forecast for many cities here in Europe. Here in Manila, 87 degrees with the thunderstorm. How'd you like to go outside and it's just thick with the humidity, and you end up with thunderstorms in the afternoon. Summertime's are coming here in Melbourne, 78 degrees, and it's gorgeous in Buenos Aires, 91. A look at a tropical cyclone that hit Australia. Now moving into the interior sections with some very heavy rain. This was, well, it was like a Category 4 hurricane, like a Hurricane Andrew hitting northwestern Australia. Much needed rain moving into the interior. For more travel information, check us out. Weather.com/driving or AOL, keyword weather.
This program was sponsored by Fusion One. Think is everything.
I'm gonna try and stop the bleeding. Find me the limb, now. I need that limb.
I don't see the limb.
Get off me. I'm fine.
Sorry.
Sync is everything. Fusion One.
You get 1 minute every morning. 1 minute when your goals are all within your reach. You push forward knowing nothing will hold you back. Introducing new Minute Maid Premium Low Acid Orange Juice. With less citric acid, you'll have the freedom to enjoy. New Minute Maid Premium Low Acid. It's the Minute Maid to squeeze the day.
The job takes heart. It takes dedication. And it takes a voice inside your head that just won't let you quit. We know, because we hear it too. A Boss snowplow. Through it all.
For the Boss dealer nearest you, call the number on your screen or visit bossplow.com.
Next week on Atmospheres, see how rapidly eroding water floods could put you at risk, plus a hot air scare. Bumpy weather can mean a really bumpy ride. Don't miss Atmospheres, hosted by meteorologists Jim Cantori and Mish Michaels, Wednesdays at 8 on the Weather Channel.
You can have the kitchen you've always dreamed of at a price to fit your budget by calling Century 21 Home Improvements today. Reface your old kitchen at a fraction of the cost of custom kitchen remodeling. Your existing framework is left intact and covered with Easy Care laminate. We replace the doors, drawers, hardware, and countertops.
Call now during our half-price special. Buy direct from the manufacturer and save 50%. No money down and payments as low as $79 a month.
The internet is slow as heck, and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
You don't have to take it anymore. Roadrunner High-Speed Online runs through your cable TV wire, making it dramatically faster.
There are never any busy signals.
Roadrunner, the fastest way to the internet.
Call now for free installation and your first month free.
Right now,
well, we have the potential for some rain into the mid-Atlantic states, maybe even some stormy weather later today because of a cold front. Hi, I'm Janetta Jones.
Yeah, it's still a little wet this morning in Boston. Jim Cantor here talking to you as well, and we're going to talk about Edouard a little bit. Things definitely gaining strength, but the question is, will it make its way to any landmass?
I don't know.
All right, we'll have to see about that. Let's go ahead and tell you about Minneapolis, though. We'd like to talk about nice weather, too. This isn't the gloom and doom channel. We were talking about a great day yesterday for the State Fair in Minneapolis. Sunny highs in
102 degrees in Sacramento, California yesterday, sending some people in search of the nearest shade tree. The normal high for this time of year is about 91.
All right, Hurricane Edouard continues to gain strength in the Atlantic, but it is not threatening any land this weekend. The big question is, will it ever? Well, we'll talk about Dolly's onshore abilities yesterday as Dolly moved into Tampico, or very, very close to Tampico, with torrential rains, and some power lines were also damaged here. We saw it come south of the city of Tampico yesterday morning. The town of Monterey also was plagued with flooding in streets and canals. At least 3 people were killed, and the reason for that was because of the flooding, and that's typically what you would find. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 11 a.m. advisory on Edouard. Currently about 1,130 miles east I shouldn't say currently, I should say as of 11 a.m. It's about 1,130 miles east of the Lesser Antilles. It's moving west at 14. Pressure is about 970 millibars, so it really has come down overnight quite a bit, and you can see that on the satellite. 14.5 north, 44.2 west, just in case you're plotting it. Again, here are the islands. Now you're looking at this skewed, so it kind of bends around a little bit, but here's Edouard out and through here. You'll notice up to the north here, some convection starting to fire up. We're starting to see a trough of low pressure developing through here, and I was just talking to John briefly, and what could happen is this may slow Edouard down, but there's even a stronger trough forecast as we get toward the 144-hour period coming on in, and that may eventually turn Edouard off toward the north. So we're just going to have to wait and see how that all plays out, because really right now only one computer model out of about 6 takes this thing and keeps it on a westward track. Everything else starts to turn it away. Again, looking at the eye of the hurricane, some strengthening. We could have our second major hurricane of the season before not too long as Edouard continues to move on off to the west. Janetta.
All right, we're going to move on into our forecast for you right